Vikings fans, we might be all the way back, baby. Largest margin of victory since 1998. I believe it may have been the Jacksonville game, if you remember all the way back then, because that was a long time ago. 48-10. And man, that first half was just, I've never been that stress free watching a Vikings game. I've never thoroughly enjoyed a Vikings game from front to back, other than maybe I was in the building in 2017 when they beat the Bengals and then Teddy came back after 2 years. Maybe. But at home watching a game, I've never thoroughly enjoyed a game as much as I enjoyed that game. That first half, remember, it was 17-3. Bengals ball in Vikings territory with 2 minutes left. They hit the 2 minute warning. They got a first down. First down, 2 minutes left. Bengals ball. They're down 17-3, but they're driving. And somehow the Vikings scored 3 times before the half. Just a thing of beauty. And I could say with absolute certainty, we signed the right Rodgers. Isaiah Rodgers was a revelation. Now, I do got to give a shout out to my boy Cesar Rodriguez, who is an Eagles fan, so we must forgive him. But all last year, he would text me during the games and be like, this Isaiah Rodgers guy is a stud. I'm like, I don't even know who that is. And then I remember at some point that this was the guy that got suspended for a year when he was with the Colts for gambling. But he was adamant all last year. This guy is a guy. So when we signed him, I know if I didn't know a guy who knew, I would have had no idea. And we just have to trust the way I think most Vikings fans did. Have to trust Flores. Like, Kevin O'Connell has repeated multiple times, when Flo has that tone in his voice, you just trust him. But I knew I was juiced up when we signed him, but I didn't know like this. The first in the history of the Pro Football Focus era, which I'm not the biggest PFF guy. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But either way, it's worth mentioning. The first player at any position in the history of PFF to have a 99.9 PFF grade. He was targeted 3 times, 1 catch, 2 yards. He had the big pass deflection on a pass to T. Higgins in the end zone when it was kind of sort of a game like that could have helped swing some momentum back. But then he's the first player in NFL history, in recorded NFL history, with a pick six, a scoop and score, fumble return for a touchdown, and 2 forced fumbles. He was he was swinging like Tyson out there, man, just punching everything out. If a guy, on the rare occasion that the Bengals got a nice pass play for a first down, well, here's Isaiah Rodgers to punch that thing out. Just an absolute thing of beauty. And even beyond Isaiah Rodgers, who, as the thumbnail said, we need to build a statue to this man right now. Even Nance and Romo were joking about it before halftime. Like, well, he's definitely got Defensive Player of the Week in the NFC locked up. Might have a Pro Bowl locked up. Might have All-Pro locked up. And Nance is like, I'm still holding out on Canton, but we still got a whole other half to play here. Just a tremendous game from Isaiah Rodgers. Shouts out my boy. He wears number 2. Maybe you can see it in the background. Nope, it's not there. I don't know where it is. I have a basketball jersey customized with my name on it. I am your host, Kyle McQueen. Here's a McQueen number 2 jersey. Always been my number, so shouts out Isaiah Rodgers, number 2, the man. But even beyond him, the pass defense was fantastic. I know there was some concern in the Bears game. There was guys running deep, and Caleb just missed them. I feel like they did a really nice job against the Falcons, but the Falcons were committed to just pounding the rock all day long. 39 rush attempts for the Falcons, so weren't really tested in pass defense. But you're going up against Jamar Chase, second best receiver in football behind you-know-who, and T. Higgins, who is also a stud. And if you remember the game from 2 years ago, what was that, week 15, I want to say, where we blew the double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. T. Higgins was just mossing guys, 2 absolute studs at the position, and they pretty much did nothing the entire day. I don't know. T. Higgins probably caught a pass. I know Jamar got a few catches in. I think he had like 50 yards, something like that, 50, 60 yards, somewhere in that range, most of it in garbage time after the game was like he caught a big pass for 20 something yards and like didn't even think about celebrating. He just popped up like he's Barry Sanders and just hands the ball to the ref because it's like, whatever. Sure, okay, I caught some passes. Maybe some fantasy football people were excited about that. Maybe you had a very slim prop bet on him to have over 50 yards or something like that. But Jake Browning 2 years ago showed that he's a very competent backup. He completed 76% of his passes in relief of Joe Burrow in week 2. And the secondary just shut everyone down, man. Just shut them down. And we got to give a shout out to the return of the hitman, Harrison Smith, who did have a very subtle tip of the ball on the pick six for Isaiah Rodgers that it may have been a completed pass if he didn't just get ever so slight of a pass deflection on there. Just change the trajectory just a little bit. Maybe that's a metaphor for the season. You get your boys back in, and the trajectory shifts just slightly. But if you're at a point, you're going one way, and the trajectory shifts just a little bit, over time, it's going to head in a completely different direction. So, got to shout him out. I also think we can't write the book on the run defense after the 39 carries from Bijan, over 200 yards. I don't think you can't write the book on it after this week. 10 carries for 3 yards for Chase Brown. I'll say it again. 10 carries for 3 yards. Now, the man is averaging less than 2 yards a carry on the season. So, again, let's not get too excited. But it was a nice antidote, a nice balm on the wound after the atrocious effort the previous week, which, again, if a team runs 39 times on you, you're going to give up a lot of yards and you're going to get worn down. So keep an eye on it, but it certainly kind of quelled some concern there after we got run on real bad. Ivan Pace, huge bounce back game. He apparently, I am not on Twitter or X. Apparently he's very active, little emotional on there. So he may have seen a lot of the commentary, people saying he got absolutely shredded against the Falcons. He's a bum. He had a huge day. 12 tackles, led the team. He was everywhere. I believe he led the team in either pressures or quarterback hits. Everything they asked him to do, he executed at a high level. So shouts out to Ivan Pace. Shouts out to Jalen Redmond and Levi Drake Rodriguez. Both of them had 80 plus PFF grades. Again, not the biggest PFF fan, but when the PFF grades are in your favor, we're going to shout them out. So shouts out Jalen Redmond and LDR. Jalen Redmond had a forced fumble. I'm telling you, they were just Mike Tyson punching everything. You could feel the confidence. They felt like on any given play, they completed a pass for a first down. Too bad, we're just going to knock the ball out. 5 forced turnovers. You're not going to win a game if you turn the ball over 5 times. It's just not going to happen. But just absolutely mollywopped them. Just bodied the Cincinnati Bengals. This does continue the streak of, I don't know how many it's been now, but it's been like decades now where it's either 27-24 Bengals or the Vikings blow them out. And the streak continues. One streak that does not continue is the Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson jinx, where that team has never called a Vikings win. Jim Nantz has not called a Vikings win since 2013. Tony Romo has never called a Vikings win. They talked about it on the broadcast. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but that obviously comes to a glorious end, 48-10. Thank you very much. The story of, if not the game, certainly it's one of the stories of the game. The story of the game is Isaiah Rodgers is a freak and everything that we absolutely wanted him to be, just tremendous. And if Miles Price wasn't balling out, we might need to listen to Isaiah Rodgers and let the man return kicks, because apparently he's been bugging KOC about it. And they're like, no, we need you on defense. And KOC is right. We need this man on defense because he is balling right now. Hopefully that continues. It's a 1-game sample size. But I feel like of all the issues we've had on defense, which the defense has been pretty damn good the first 2 weeks. Like they've done their job. Ultimately, they've put us in a position to win both of those first two games. But there's a lot of nitpicks and other things that are cause for, if not concern, things you want to, kind of keep your eye on moving forward. And obviously after the Atlanta loss, as bad as the offense looked in that game, there's a lot of panic. I, on this channel, tried to quell that a little bit, but I'm not going to lie. The Monday after that Atlanta game, I may have been in bed for about 12 hours when I looked at my phone and saw J.J. McCarthy was out 2 to 4 weeks. But that's neither here nor there. But maybe the story of where the season could go. Return of the hitman, as I said, making an impact. B-Flo talked about this, where someone asked him in a press conference earlier last week, is there anything that you can't do when the hitman's not out there? And he said, it's not that there's anything that we can't do. It's that there's certain things that, because of his football IQ, because of his experience, and the free reign that B-Flo gives the players on the field on any given play, there's certain things that Harry will check into that nobody else is going to see. And not that there's not a ton of high IQ players out there, because there are. You have to have a high IQ. Josh Metellus talked about you need to have a PhD in defense just to play in the Brian Flores defense. But the hitman, the experience, the intelligence, he's seen everything there is to see. There's certain things that he'll check into that nobody else is going to see. So having him back, even if his physical skills have diminished a bit, the league has taken away one of his biggest weapons, him being the hitman, because you can't hit anyone. Like, we had the one 15-yard penalty where Okuda lowered the boom on one of the receivers. I forget who it was. It looked clean to me. He did get him a little bit in the neck, but it was, he hit him in the shoulder pad and it kind of grazed up. Looked clean to me, but you got to let the boys play. Let the boys play. But the hitman being back, huge for the defense. Even just emotionally having him out there, I think, really buoyed the guys. But Christian Darrisaw, the big dog, CD, being back there. No Justin School, no Walter Rouse. We did get a little Blake Brandel in there because they got to a point before the end of the first half where Kevin O'Connell was like, you know what, Christian, you're working back from the ACL. Come on back. Not that we have you on a pitch count, but there's no need for you to be out there. There's no need for you to be out there because we got the game wrapped up. Don't worry about it. Come rest the knee, put some ice on that thing, and take the second half off. So Blake Brandel got out there, but Christian Darrisaw being back cannot be understated how important that is. Monumental. We need to remember this, and not to make this about my boy J.J. McCarthy, but it is a factor. The offense looked significantly different with Christian Darrisaw out there. And you can, there's people out there in the Vikings media saying, Carson Wentz, he looked like an adult in the room. He looked like a professional out there, with these very subtle, not shots at J.J. McCarthy, but just little subtle digs maybe. It helps when you have a top 3 left tackle versus one of 2 human turnstiles in Justin School and Walter Rouse out there. And just to highlight it, I mean, you're going up against Trey Hendrickson, who's better than any defensive lineman we've played in the first 2 weeks. And they didn't call Trey Hendrickson's name one time. I think the only time he was mentioned on TV was them noting the fact that they haven't mentioned him one time. So Darrisaw just completely erasing one of the better, if not best, edge rushers in the league. Guy who led the league in sacks last year, did nothing. He had 1 tackle. Did absolutely nothing. Didn't get a pressure. Did nothing in the entire game. And then running the ball behind CD, 11 carries for 86 yards. Say that again. 11 carries for 86 yards behind Christian Darrisaw. So whether it's Wentz back there, whether it's JJ back there, whether it's Brosmer back there, God forbid Desmond Ridder back there, whether it's me back there, whether it's you back there, I don't care who's back there. Kevin O'Connell could put the helmet and pads back on, knock the dust off, and he could get back there. Whoever's back there going to have a much easier time going about their process with Christian Darrisaw on the left side. Christian Darrisaw, I'm so glad you're back. I love you. I love you so much. I missed you, baby. I know you're watching this show right now. Christian, you're the man. We're happy to have you back. Does not even begin to describe the words. But next to him, Donovan Jackson obviously looked better than he did last week, having the man next to him on his left side. And shouts out Donovan Jackson. I do have to say, playing through the injury, he had the wrist issue that he suffered in the Atlanta game, and he had surgery today as of recording. You might be watching this on a different day, but Monday morning he had surgery. Sounds like he's going to miss the next 2 games, and then they're going to use the bye, and then he'll be back after the bye. It's not a severe, serious thing, but him gutting it out, playing through the injury and playing as well as he did. And then he suffered something happened where his nose was like gushing blood and they had to pull him out for a play or whatever it was. But just a stud, again, because running to the left, the 11 carries for 86 yards, not just Christian Darrisaw. Sometimes you're running between Darrisaw and Jackson and they're just moving bodies. I believe woke up this morning, Brian Baldinger already had one of his he's one of the best content creators because there's no frills. It's just him with his phone recording video on a computer screen, just breathing into the mic. Donovan Jackson, he's a stud. And he is a stud indeed. I think we got a guy here. We may have finally fixed this interior that I have been bitching and moaning about for 12 years now. So Donovan Jackson, stud, playing through the injury, just gutting it out for the boys. You love to see it. Behind those 2 guys, again, the 11 carries for 86 yards. Jordan Mason having to pick up the slack now with Aaron Jones. And I think we're all in agreement Jordan Mason is, if it's a 1A, 1B situation, he's the 1A for sure. Aaron Jones needs to be on the field because he can still play. He's an asset. He's a weapon. But you put Mason in there. I said this on Purple Daily on the vent line yesterday. I may have said it on this channel. Aaron Jones carries the ball. Jordan Mason pounds the rock. Pounds the damn rock. You start with that, you wear the defense down, and then I think a guy like Aaron Jones, he can step in, and because they're worn down, because they're tired, because they're physically taxed from having to deal with this guy just running through people, especially with when Brian Kelly gets back and when Brian Kelly and Donovan Jackson get back and we got the full complement of offensive linemen and they're just knocking dudes back, and then Jordan Mason's hitting them in the mouth, running through guys. And then you start mixing in Aaron Jones. Like Aaron Jones, when he gets back and we got the full offensive line, we make the switch. Jordan Mason becomes your lead back. He's wearing guys down. By the end of this season, in the second half of the season, Aaron Jones is going to rip off some long runs in the third and fourth quarter from the defenses just being so tired from getting hit in the face over and over and over again through the whole game. So Jordan Mason, stud game. 16 carries for $120, something like that. $116. I don't have the numbers in front. I don't know why I didn't write that down, but it is worth noting we are 5th in the league in run percentage. So got to give KOC some love for switching up the philosophy. The first couple weeks, it felt like, why are we not running the ball more? Had the ball first and goal from the 2 against Atlanta, a chance to really cut into the lead, and he gets cute as KOC has a tendency to, and they run the fake pitch, and then there's the delay of game, and then they get knocked back, and now they have to pass, and it's just like on Sunday, first and goal, inside the 5, give it to Jordan Mason, touchdown. 2 touchdown runs inside the 5. That may be more touchdown runs inside the 5 than we had in the entirety of the 2023 season with Alexander Mattison and Cam Akers. Maybe not, but I'm not exaggerating. We may have had that many or less in the entire season in 2023. So kudos to KOC for just not getting cute, get inside the 5. We do have a tendency to, how many times have we seen Justin Jefferson catch a ball, make a guy miss, and something like he's right there and just gets stopped like right at the 1 yard line. Like we need to be able to move bodies and pound the rock inside. That's why we paid Fries. That's why we paid Kelly. That's why we drafted Donovan Jackson. That's why we traded for Jordan Mason. And on Sunday against Cincinnati, we saw why they made all those moves, those 2 touchdown runs. Just beautiful to watch. They weren't big runs. They weren't crazy runs. I think his biggest run of the day was 20, 25 yards. Nothing like super explosive, but it's just beautiful. I love watching Jordan Mason. I said this on Purple Daily yesterday as well. He is a Triple H sledgehammer. You wrestling fans out there, or anyone back in the day who watched in the Attitude Era, Triple H, he would pull that sledgehammer out and just bash dudes over the head. That is Jordan Mason when he gets the rock in his hands, and it's fabulous to watch. You love it. So obviously the run game strong, the run blocking very strong, pass protection was strong. Carson Wentz took 3 sacks. I want to say they were all in the first half, and I have not watched the all 22, but just watching it live, I believe they were all either coverage sacks or just Wentz holding onto the ball, just maybe a little rusty. He hasn't played a meaningful game in years now at this point. His last couple games, the last 2 years, were in relief in week 18 and meaningless games. And Wentz isn't exactly Peyton Manning, but knocking the rust off and took a few sacks, but none of it was like it was against Atlanta, where it's like before you even get to the back of your drop, there's just 1 or 2 guys in your face. And there was CD back, Donovan Jackson elevating his play because CD's back. They weren't running as many twists and games up front. They couldn't really pin their ears back because the running game was so strong. So pass protection, very good in that game, which it was crucial to see after how just JJ McCarthy didn't have a chance in week 2. Whatever percentage or degree of the inefficiency of the offense falls on him, part of it's on the play calling and the lack of the quick game. Part of it's on his inexperience and just taking a tick longer because he's adjusting to the speed of the game. Huge part of it's on second, third string left tackle, backup center, the totally new interior offensive line, still trying to figure out the chemistry. And then you have the moving parts because guys are injured or coming back from injuries. And then you have a guy in the Atlanta game who's starting his second game at quarterback. And then now all of a sudden his center is a guy who has never taken snaps in a meaningful football game at center. So who's calling the protections? So the communication breaks down. However you want to slice that up, doesn't matter because we got CD back. We got the big dog back. According to Kevin O'Connell in the press conference, sounds super optimistic. Ryan Kelly is going to be back for the Dublin game against the Steelers. So we'll have, I guess we won't have Donovan Jackson, but Blake Brandel will step in there. Blake Brandel played excellent last year. Maybe not excellent, but very good football last year before Christian Darrisaw tore his ACL. So I imagine him sliding in there with CD to his left and Ryan Kelly to his right, that he'll play good ball and we're not going to miss a huge beat on there. So we'll have the strongest iteration of our offensive line that we've had collectively in terms of pass pro and run blocking in over a decade next week in Dublin. So that's going to be fantastic. And Pittsburgh's defense has not been as great. If you just look at the box score, they only gave up 14 points yesterday, but the Patriots had like something absurd, like 3 or 4 turnovers in the red zone, like 2 or 3 at the goal line yesterday. So the Patriots were moving the football. So we should move the ball against these guys next week in Dublin. But as far as Carson Wentz goes, I mean, he was competent. He was efficient. This is not the episode to litigate the quarterback situation and McCarthy and whether or not, what the factors are and blah, blah, blah. And, any sort of controversy that could be brewing or whatever the case. I am going to do another show here coming up in the next day, probably. Kevin O'Connell had some interesting comments in the press conference that kind of, if you read between the lines, you can kind of get a sense of what their thought process is with JJ McCarthy. But we don't need to get into that because this is a celebration cast. We are enjoying the fruits of our Vikings labor because they went to work for a half, blew the doors off him, and then say, you know what, everyone else, you backups, third string guys, you guys come in and get yours too. We'll get to that. The amount of people that recorded a stat in this game for the Vikings is unheard of. But Wentz did his job, 14 for 20. I think I want to say he was 8 for 10 on passes that traveled less than 10 air yards. So what I'll say about that is some quick game. A lot of called quick game from Kevin O'Connell. So that's good to see. Again, running the ball inside the 5, not getting cute, calling more quick games. So I think that's a positive sign from the play calling aspect of things, of Kevin O'Connell self-scouting, making adjustments. Love to see it. Carson Wentz, he drove the ship, drove the car, didn't crash it, didn't come close to crashing. I did hold my breath on that one where he was scrambling around and kind of threw off his front foot, jumping forward and to the side into the end zone. He threw it to Adam Thielen, but Romo was kind of praising it. Like, it looks scary, but he knew what he was doing, putting it in a place where it's half throwaway, half maybe Adam Thielen gets to this and catches this thing. But if Thielen doesn't get to it, nobody else is going to get to it. As it was unfolding, I was like, oh God, here we go. But beyond that, he missed a few throws. That Thielen had the one drop on what would have been a nice gain in the intermediate. Held onto the ball a little bit, took those 3 sacks, but he didn't take any sacks in the second half. He didn't play for half of the second half because Maximus Decimus Meridius Brosmer got in the game because it was that bad of a beatdown. But it's very positive to see from Carson Wentz that he can keep the car on the road, keep the train on the tracks, and let the super talented defense do what they do. Let the super talented offensive line starting to get healthier do what they do. Let Jordan Mason be a hammerhead and just sledgehammer his way down the field. So that was positive. Didn't do any bozo shit, which he is prone to doing bozo shit. That's the one thing I'm kind of like, we've yet to see Kevin O'Connell. We've seen him repair a lot of damaged quarterbacks, but we have yet to see him really coach bozo ball out of guys that are prone to that. Like, Sam Darnold was bad before he got to the Vikings, but he didn't do a lot of bozo stuff. He didn't play bozo ball. He just kind of like lost his confidence and was seeing ghosts out there, famously. So we'll see how that goes, but Wentz did his job. You could tell he was fired up on that first drive, wearing the purple that he grew up rooting for. He was fired up. It was fun to see. And I will say this, Tony Romo did an excellent job deftly identifying the difficulty of dealing with the O-line injuries and the beauty of having Christian Darrisaw back and having the 3 new guys, like I said, and the communication and the chemistry issues that can cause. So I think if you're one of those people that's can't help but think about, JJ versus Wentz and how's this going to shake out, and do we go back to the kid? Can we go back to the kid? If we're winning, like, what are you going to do? Can you trust him? Wherever JJ McCarthy is in his development, whatever the issues are for why he didn't just step in and turn into 2018 Patrick Mahomes straight out the gate, if he's playing behind this offensive line and Kevin O'Connell is calling the plays the way he called them on Sunday, it's not going to be anywhere near as bad as it was in the Atlanta game. It's just not. It's really just not. The one interception he had was an arm punt. the pick six against the Bears, and this could just be Justin Jefferson being a nice teammate, but he took the blame for that in breaking off his route. And then, the fumble on the sack was just, it was, if you watch the O-line committee, Alex Boone broke it down perfectly. I think it was on the O-line committee. It may have been on Trenches with Boone on Purple Daily. I assume you watch some of these if you're watching my little show. If not, then you should check them out because they're excellent and they're much better at this than I am. But where Brian O'Neill, people were kind of giving him crap for letting a free rush come in off the right side, but he broke it down. It was like everyone did what they were supposed to do. It's just sometimes the defense calls the perfect play. And even if you do everything the way you're supposed to by the book and you execute the way you're supposed to execute, sometimes the other side, they just do the perfect thing and there's nothing you can do about it. JJ didn't have a chance. And then his two hot routes, Hawkinson to the left, Hawkinson had to chip because you got a third string left tackle out there. So he hadn't fully released yet. And then Aaron Jones was blanket covered in the flat. And a veteran quarterback is going to find a way to dirt that thing, but it is what it is. So I thought Tony Romo did an excellent job of sort of explaining why, like, if you're worried about that thing, like if JJ steps back in, when he steps back in, don't worry about it. Like there's clear reasons around him why things looked as bad as they did in the Atlanta game, and it's not all on him. Whatever degree is on him, and he'll continue to grow and learn. He's got the mentality of growing and learning. But the other thing Romo pointed out is, because there was a lot of complaints in the Vikings fandom about, is Hawkinson washed? Why are we paying this guy? He's a bum. Post ACL, he's cooked. But we did, Hawk has been identified. He's having a really good season in run blocking, but he's also having a good season just blocking in general. And they've needed him to block because you had a third string left tackle. You have a backup center in there. So they needed Hawkinson running less routes, doing more blocking. And then when he's running stuff, the routes that he's able to run, they needed him closer for hot route situations because they were getting so much pressure that they can't run a lot of the concepts they like to run with the deep crossers with Jefferson and then Hawkinson intermediate underneath, where like one of those guys is going to be open. Like that's how they feasted the last few years, is just taking advantage of the layering in the middle. So now that's back on the table. Hawkinson had a really nice day. I will say Kevin O'Connell, if I have any critique for his play calling, I still feel like he could chill just a little bit on the 7-step drops. But beyond that, like I thought he called an excellent game. I will say the trick play with the double pass with Jefferson, he loves that, where Jefferson throws it back across the field. I feel like it's a very dangerous pass, especially in that situation where it's 31-3. Like, your number one goal is just don't do anything stupid and give them a spark and 7 points there. And it's like, if we get a touchdown, we get a field goal, great. It's just continuing to pile on, but maybe not do that. But Jefferson's got a nice arm. I want to see Jefferson throw the ball down the field, not across the field. But I love that Kevin O'Connell was feeling it at that point. Just like we can't go wrong right now. Like everything we're doing is turning to gold. So let me pull out a trick play and see what happens. We also got to shout out Big Leg Bill. And in the moment when I saw that, it was 62 yards. He's lining up at the end of the half. You see Jamar Chase trot out there. They show him lining up. He's going to be Antonio Cromartie in 2007, or they alluded to the Alabama-Auburn game back in the day. And I'm like, maybe he's going to miss the 62-yarder, but it ain't going to be short. Like, there's no way that Jamar Chase is going to chance to return this. Like, Big Leg Bill might miss it left or right, but it's not going to be short. And the first thought in my mind is he's going to see Jamar Chase trotting out there, and Michael Jordan style, he took it personally. He took that personally. It became personal with me. And he boomed that thing, man. That ball might have been good from 72 yards. It was just tremendous to watch. Big Leg Bill shouts out. There was that little bit in training camp where we were all kind of nervous. And, kickers, even the best ones, they'll have little lulls here and there, but Big Leg Bill is booming them. Ryan Wright, I thought, did a nice job. There might have been one punt that was a little not great, but he's been booming them down there. And the last thing I want to highlight is just the entire team. 34 players. 34 players. Was there 48 guys active on game day? 34 of them recorded a stat. Like a positive stat. Not like a guy didn't do anything, but he fumbled the ball. Adam Thielen was not one of those 34, and he took a ton of snaps. He had the drop. He had a couple targets. 34 guys recorded a stat, excluding all but one offensive lineman who did recover a fumble. So like you factor in the offensive linemen who played and were blocking, and they didn't record a stat, but they're performing a vital function to the team. Literally 40 plus guys on that roster, on the active roster on game day, made a contribution of some sort. Chaz Chambliss got a sack. Austin Keys got a sack. Van Ginkel played 8 snaps the entire game, and he had 2 sacks. And I know there's people out there that they want the flash, and there's all this concern about Dallas Turner. Oh, he's not doing enough. Dallas Turner had 5 pressures. 5 pressures in one game where he didn't play the whole game because they benched the starters because they were blowing out the Bengals so bad. So Dallas Turner was out there making an impact. He was making an impact in the run game, had some run stops, but literally 40 plus guys on this team made some kind of tangible impact in a positive way on the outcome of this game. It was a beautiful game to watch. Like I said, maybe the most enjoyable Vikings victory I've ever seen, just front to back. By the end of the third quarter, you would be bored if you weren't just buzzing from how amazing it was. Like there was just nothing mattered. It's like, yeah, we got another 15 minutes. Let the third string guys get in there. Let Austin Keys go get a sack. Why not? It was beautiful to watch. It was, like I said, balm on a wound, man. It's just what the doctor ordered. A victory that hit the spot. It wasn't like, oh, they bounced back and they got a nice win and they edged out the Bengals. Isaiah Rodgers beat them by himself. If you exclude the point after kicks on his 2 touchdowns, he alone scored 12 points. Bengals scored 10. At halftime, league-wide in the 1 o'clock window, Isaiah Rodgers had scored more points on his own, again, excluding the point after kicks. Isaiah Rodgers outscored 12 full entire professional football teams in the first half in the 1 o'clock slate on Sunday. 12. Build the man a statue. And Isaiah Rodgers, let's do it again next week, baby. Let's go overseas. Now, we showed America this is what we can do. This is what a mostly healthy Minnesota Vikings football team can do. Now let's show Ireland. And then let's show the UK. And then let's come back and let's show America all over again. It was beautiful to see. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends if you enjoyed the energy on today's show. Small channel. Not trying to do anything crazy with it. Just trying to have fun. Just trying to enjoy watching the Vikings with fellow Vikings fans. But any support you can give me, I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in.